Hey guys, we're back. I don't know if you guys saw this, but I'm so excited. I've got Suzanne Ratti here today. But it finally just occurred to me that maybe we should title this thing. So we're going with ASMM Digital Small Business Connections. So we're excited. Suzanne is actually, she's a client, which I'm super excited about. She's a friend. And we've known each other, or we've kind of been orbiting around each other for a long time, but finally got to know each other. And she's the CEO of Ideas 360. But you're also running Smart Women Professionals.
Yeah.
And let's start with the Thrive Business Community. Tell me what you're doing there, what that is.
So Thrive is a business networking group, but it's got a twist. So instead of just being a networking group where you go hand out cards, the group's primary purpose is referrals. So if you're familiar with a BNI, but it's an alternative to a BNI, and the culture is very different. So we don't meet every week, so the time commitment's less.
Okay.
And in addition to that, one of our core values of our community is giving back to the communities in which we live and work. So throughout the year, we actually organize charitable initiatives each quarter. And the group determines what those initiatives are. They're always local. And that's the core component, a very core component of the group. So we all help support each other's businesses, and we also support our communities.
That's great. That's great. And you started doing some live videos over there too, so people should go and watch. All right. Tell me a little bit about Ideas 360 so that everybody knows and your experience in general.
Yeah. So I have about 25 years in sales and marketing. A large portion of my experience has been in sales and marketing leadership roles. So VP of sales and marketing for a number of different companies. What I've always found is I spent about 10 years as a single mom on 100% commission doing sales. And what I constantly found was that the marketing around me was not supporting the message that I was delivering to my customers. And so with each company that I worked with, I would get pulled into the marketing side of things to help support the sales efforts. And so that's really where the marketing grew out of. And that's one of the things that I think I bring to the table for a lot of clients is the fact that I understand sales in my core. That's the heart of what I've done for 25 years. But when about 10 to 15 years ago, when I really started getting involved with marketing, I have the ability to really align sales and marketing so that they're not operating as two different silos. There's not two different worlds, orbiting at the same time. And that's really what I help clients with is sales and marketing strategies so that they can really make sure that the money that they're spending in marketing is actually going to result in an ROI for their business.
That's great. I was actually wondering about that. I was thinking about you this morning because I said, I'm going to start offering some classes. So I was wondering if during this time you're working with anybody or can you work with people to help them bring their sales team together and figure out what they should be doing together as a team. So maybe online.
Absolutely. So I do sales coaching for individuals and for teams. And one of the things that we're focused on with a lot of clients right now is not just how do we sell in this current environment, but it's also what can we be doing right now while folks are maybe at a little lower pace. And so a lot of that involves some skill building. It also involves how to nurture your client base right now. So working with individuals and sales teams on how they can not only sustain business and perhaps grow business during this time, but also how they're going to come out of it and what that's going to look like. So it's an important time to be focused on sales right now.
Yeah. So, well, then let's get right into that. So, but should you be selling right now?
So the number one question I get is, especially from sales leaders, CEOs, is we don't really think now's a great time to sell. And, if this crisis was only 2 weeks long, then, maybe I see that. But this crisis is going to be much longer than 2 weeks, and your business cannot stop running. So the key, I think, right now, and the advice that I give a lot of clients is we have to figure out what to sell. So if you're in the business of selling widgets and nobody needs your widgets, then maybe the business right now of selling revolves more around resources and nurturing the client base. But that's still selling. It's just more solutions based.
Right.
So, I use the example of a client who is basically sells tires, right, to Mr. Tire and Jiffy Lube or whoever, different retail outlets. And you would think, and the client thought that this is not a great time to sell tires because nobody's out driving. But on the flip side of that, I've got a client who took and adapted to that environment, and he runs an auto repair facility. And so what he did was he implemented a concept where he comes to your house, picks up your car, takes it, which in turn helps feed his guys that are working on cars.
Right.
And he brings the car back. So that's innovative. And that's a way to still maintain sales. Another concept was to provide discounts for first responders, grocery store workers, healthcare providers, special discounts and incentives for those folks that have to still be on the road, have to have their car maintained.
Right. Well, and I love what he's doing because we, in my house, and I say this a lot, I love my husband, and he still makes me be the one that takes care of the car. So if he needs his car to go in, he takes it, I pick him up, I will arrange the car. But if I need my car done, I'm just stuck because he doesn't have time to help me with that. And so he doesn't. And so I love that your client's doing this. I have a client who's doing that. I think it's really great because not only is it helpful right now, but it's this nice thing that down the road, I'm calling him again to say, can you do that again, even though we're not in the middle of a pandemic? So it gives him that extra thing that he can offer later.
Yeah.
So, So you're, are there other, as far as the selling or solving, I think you say that a lot. What are you selling or are you solving?
So I think, that's kind of like one of my go-tos in any sales environment. When I go meet with a business that's either struggling a little bit with sales or trying to grow in sales, and we're talking about challenges. And the first piece of advice or question I ask is, are you selling something or solving something? Because if we're in the mindset or the traditional mindset of selling something, then we're just pushing our stuff. We're focused on our need.
Right.
But if we're in the business of solutions or selling something versus solving something, then we're in the position of actually spinning that completely 180 and looking at what is it that our clients need right now. So that may not be the product or service that we're selling, in which case, if you remember The Miracle on 34th Street, what was the key to that movie? It's that Kris Kringle sent folks down the street to Gimbel's.
Right, exactly.
To get stuff that Macy's didn't have. And that's the solutions part of selling, is that it doesn't matter what the solution is. Serving as that valued resource is part of selling too.
Right. It's funny you said that because I just did this. Heather Summers, who owns Park Home, called me and said, hey, I need an online solution for my company because we've only sold by in person, or people call me and I kind of show them pictures, but I don't have a way for them to actually buy the product online. And can you help me? And I said, well, kind of. But I think the better solution is for you to call Chrissy, because Chrissy is over at Pongo's. She builds e-commerce sites, and she can build it well, and she can build it fast. And that's a better solution for you. And no, I didn't get anything out of that. But when we come through this, I'm going to be the one that Heather thinks of, because Absolutely. I was the one who referred her out, and I think that's important. So, and actually that goes to your whole idea of sphere of influence, right?
Yeah.
So I did it wrong again. Look at that. I'm getting used to this whole computer thing. This whole software is wonderful, but it's a whole new thing for me. But we talked about relationships and building relationships, and that's something that's so important. So explain the sphere of influence and how that works.
Well, I mean, sales in today's environment, sales is all about sphere of influence. And I've got a chart that I always show in presentations. So you've got your immediate sphere of influence, that's circle number 1. Then you have your secondary sphere of influence, and then your third. And right now, one of the best things that salespeople can be doing is building that sphere of influence. And what that looks like on LinkedIn, there's strategies to build your sphere of influence beyond your first sphere. What it looks like from a touch standpoint is that you're not reaching out to current clients, or you are reaching out to current clients. But in addition to that, you're asking current clients, who do they know that might be able to utilize your services right now? So expanding your sphere of influence is something that salespeople can do right now. It's really, really productive use of time, as well as nurturing that sphere of influence.
Right. Yeah, no, that's a good point. And I think that's something that people are not doing enough. I just got a call from actually my Challenger Auto, and that's exactly what they did. They called and said two things. One, I'm calling to check on you and how you guys are doing. How are your kids? Where are they? Because they know I have older kids who are somewhere else with their cars. And they checked on me, and then they said, I want to let you know we're working a little outside of our realm now. So we currently have scooters in our shop that we've never fixed before, but we know how to fix it. Just wasn't part of what we did. So we're now doing that. And so if you know people with scooters, make sure you tell them we've got that. And there were a couple of other things like that. They're like, make sure you tell them we've got this. And so they were able to expand that a little bit. So that was nice.
It's opening up the conversation. It really.
Yeah, exactly. So, what should salespeople be doing right now? What are the kinds of things that they could do? Yes, reaching out to people. What other types of things should they be working on?
Well, like I said, I was in sales for a long, long time, and salespeople and CRMs don't always go together, right? So I think right now, building out your CRM and making sure that you have it set up to nurture your clients is huge. So you could do a lot of work on your database right now. You could do skill building, and you can do that with somebody like me who's a sales coach, or you can do that online with YouTube. You can do that with any sorts of technology right now. Skill building and mindset coaching are great uses of your time right now, because if we just stay where we are, then we have the risk of either going backwards or just staying where we are. If we just try to use this time to develop ourselves personally and professionally, we don't have a risk of going backwards. We have a risk of staying where we are or expanding and going bigger after this is all over. So I think those are really, really effective uses of time and resources right now. And like I said, the database is the big thing, because as salespeople, we hate databases, but now's a great time to clean it up, set it up for nurturing.
It is. And and it's still the thing that I'm avoiding.
We all do.
It's making me crazy, because I know that I should talk about. Actually, we got a comment here. Who has? Okay, so Michelle Miller's here. She says we're giving great solutions, and Jessica says fantastic tips. So that's awesome. Yeah. Awesome. And if anybody has questions, please feel free to put them up. We can actually put it up on the screen so we can both see it and other people can know what we're talking about. We'd love the questions. How about marketing? What can you be doing for marketing, and why? And why is that different from everything else they're doing?
So the tendency, if you think about the tendency for fight or flight, which is what we're all thrown into right at the moment, whether we realize it or not, we're thrown into fight or flight mode. So the first thing is obviously mindset, is to get ourselves out of fight or flight mode. So for marketing, the tendency is pull back, right? Constrict. I don't want to spend money right now. I don't know, the future's uncertain. The tendency is to pull back. And in some cases and in some industries, that's fine. But I believe, and if you look back on every crisis, 9/11, 2008, like every single crisis, the people who continued to spend or even sometimes spent more money actually came out of the crisis ahead of the game. So I really caution people not to pull back or constrict on marketing. I do think, though, it's really important to reevaluate marketing, because if you were spending a lot of money on, let's say, pay-per-click, that may not be the best use of money right now. Yes, everybody's online and they're searching, but they're really searching generally for a couple of things: anything related to COVID and anything related to stimulus or business stimulus packages. So if you're not specifically revolving around those industries, I know you get 10 different answers from 10 different marketers, but pay-per-click may be an area that you scale back on. But guess what? Social media, stuff that you do, that's an area that you should be really investing in. So it may require reallocation of efforts or dollars or even strategies.
Right. Yeah, no, I think that's a good point. And it's time right now. I think I keep trying not to say this, but the truth is, it's the perfect time to show how human you are. Yeah. And, we're doing this right now by putting our face out there. That doesn't mean that's what you have to do, that it has to be your face. It can be, like we talked about before, I have a client who's going to be, we're working on their campaign right now, but they want to put something out there saying, we're closed. except that we're going to sell this one particular brand and we're only selling it so that we can give back to Feeding America. And I thought that was such a great way of doing it. But that shows their humanity. It shows how much they care about their community and the people around them. And this is our opportunity to do that. And you can do that through marketing.
Well, and you mentioned Thrive. Thrive Arundel is a group of business professionals. And we got together on a huddle call and said, okay, what can we do? We can't get in our cars and drive out anywhere. We're limited by, what we can do, but what can we do that will have an impact on our community? And when a company does that, not only does it send a really good, strong message to your employees, but it also sends a really good message to the community around you, the businesses that you work with, the people around your community. So, in a sense, that's definitely a form of marketing that a lot of businesses can take advantage of. And for us, one of the things we did is we worked with a local restaurant, Luna Blue, who had basically shut her doors, all except for catering because of the situation. And I called her up. I know the owner there. And I said, hey, would you be interested in catering over to the ER staff department at AAMC? And she said, absolutely. I'll bring the guys in. We'd love to do that. So we're able to feed two community members that way, both the restaurant as well as the emergency room workers at AAMC.
Right.
Things like that are great marketing initiatives that don't cost a lot, but they have a great residual value.
Yeah, no, exactly. And that is so important. I think that part of showing humanity. Actually, Jessica, it's funny. I'm going to put her comment up because it's so what we're talking about. She says, featuring nonprofits, frontline heroes, your clients and others like us in these interviews is a great marketing direction. Send clients the gift of a recipe or something joyful.
Yep.
A good, clean joke. Actually, my husband suggested, and I thought it was really funny. He said, we have extra toilet paper because we kept forgetting to tell Amazon to stop sending it on the subscription. So we had a bunch of it. He says, why don't you just send that out to your clients, one roll, and say, I've got your backside.
Yeah, there you go. I love it. There you go.
Yeah.
And that doesn't have to cost a lot of money.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I thought that was great. Deb Sears is on. She says that she's been following your advice on working on her brand. And this is a good time. Let me go back to that too. It's so important. Yes, maybe we don't define ourselves as salespeople, but we've got a personal brand and we're selling ourselves all the time. So how are you doing that? So it's a good time to work on your personal brand as well. So Alice Ann's on here. Kurt Jackson's on here. He was going to talk about CRM. So hopefully he'll tell us a little bit about, what he's doing with his CRM right now. Naret's on. We've got a lot of people on. And we even have Gavin Palmer from Jamaica. So Gavin runs a not a travel agency. That's not what I'd call it. He will pick you up from the airport and make sure you see all the great things that you should be seeing while you're down there.
Got it.
So yeah. So let's go back. We were at, here's the one I love. What should small businesses be doing and what should CEOs be doing for their companies right now? What is the best thing they should be doing?
Well, I think the first thing is be human. As a small business owner, as a CEO of a big company, it doesn't matter which one you are human. And no one expects you to have all the answers. So, one of the things I talk with my clients about is pull your team into a huddle. Gather them up, let them know that you're human, that you don't have all the answers, and seek their guidance to ask them what they think would be the best solutions. Even if you already have the answer, getting the input from your team is key. Plus, we have such a diverse environment, right? We have young people, old people, all different ethnicities. And I think that getting a team into a room that has that kind of diversity will give you a much more diverse solution. So that's number one. The second thing is lead. Leaders inspire action. And when you get folks into a room, you determine the culture that gets set from the top down. So you have to lead and you have to be open to being human. So I think that's it. And then the other thing is innovation. I mean, right now, this is not the time to be naysaying. I always say now is the time to have a yes and conversation. What I mean by that is when I used to put my team in a room and we were talking about how to be innovative with a particular product or service, I always said this is not a no conversation or a but conversation. This is a yes and conversation. So when an idea is thrown out, it's not, yeah, but that won't work. Yeah, but that costs too much money. It's yes, and we need to figure out how to cover the costs. Yes, and we would need to implement operational or other procedures. So I think having yes and conversations right now will help leaders embrace innovation.
I absolutely agree. I love that so much. And I think you said pull everybody together. You may find that somebody on your team has that next product that they've been wanting to tell you about, but they're like, it's just not the right time. Well, suddenly you have that time.
Yep.
So maybe you're going to find that they have something that they can give back to you. I want to give a couple of the comments real quick before we move on. Michael Carico over at, Lincolnapolis, and Michael, please tell me the name of the other company because I'm just drawing a blank right now. He also is building a CRM called Odette, and it's in the beta phase. So it's kind of nice if you wanted to get involved with it because you can say, hey, if it did this,
right.
So they're looking for those extra things. But he says this is a bad time to sell, but a great time to build. And I think that's exactly what you said. It's exactly what you said. I don't know if I can get some of these comments on. They're very, very long. Debbie Sears is commenting again. She says, I've been using humor in my customer group, part of my brand. It's hard to sell, but our team has pivoted to do multi-rep group events on Facebook. We had a live last week where we each invited 10 people each to watch. So that was 50 total. We offered prizes and had 44 people on at one time. That's really cool. Their sales were actually $6,000 combined. So that's the kind of thing, if we can start doing things and thinking outside the box and figuring out how we can work together. And these have been great. I honestly started these because I am such an extrovert. It was killing me to be at home and not talk to anybody.
Ditto.
But they've been great because I can feature somebody like you. I can feature a client. But selfishly, I get something from it too, right? Because your people are following right now. They're watching this, and vice versa. When we're going to do one over on yours next week, which will be nice. And I think it's important that we see those ways of how can we help each other. What's hard is the people who want to call and say, hey, can we do this? And it's completely selfish. That comes through. If you're completely selfish, if you're not giving it this time, it's not a positive. Mm-hmm. I'm just going to put this up because I like it when people say nice things about us. The two of you always inspire and motivate me so much. Thank you for giving to me, to us, and to our community. Patty, we love you. She is awesome. I love how many people are tuning in right now and how many people are commenting. I think it's really great to see. I still, again, though, keep getting back to where I want to go to the banner and can't. All right. You wrote an article a couple of days ago. It was on LinkedIn. If you guys aren't following, how do they follow you on LinkedIn? What's the best way?
At Suzanne Ratti.
At Suzanne Ratti. So find Suzanne over there. She writes a lot of articles over there, and she has a lot to say. But this one was about what is happening right now. What's the biggest thing that's coming out, the biggest lesson that's coming out of all of this? So what is that you think?
Resilience. You don't get resilience by genetics. You don't get resilience by watching TV. You don't get resilience by, whatever. You get resilience by working through challenges and learning lessons from those challenges. And, kind of my motto is every time I encounter something that's tough to go through or tough to get through, that is when beautiful growth happens. And resilience is that in a nutshell. Resilience is not only that we got through a challenge, but the lesson that we learned from it and how we grew from it. And so for me, I think it's a tremendous opportunity as a social conscious to have a vibe of resilience coming out of this. And I think if we can embrace that, man, who knows what's going to happen when this is over? I think it's an incredible opportunity.
Right. Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. And I think, one of the things that I have seen come out of this is the willingness to build relationships. Mm-hmm. And I think that kind of goes hand in hand, because if you're not willing to push through this time right now, if you can't build the resilience, you're not going to build those relationships. So I think those relationships are important. I want to go a one piece of advice. Before we go to your one piece of advice, let's see if anybody else, there's comments. I want to see if there are any questions that we're missing. I like this. Narette said, I just asked my clients how they're going to be resilient today. So she speaks to her clients every morning. So how are you going to be resilient today?
Awesome.
And it's important. Let me remind everybody too, and it wouldn't be an and call without this, that this is a good time to check on your friends you haven't heard from, especially your stronger friends, because those are the ones that are probably going through a hard time right now. They're not going to ask for help. Maybe they have had that feeling of, I can always get through this and I'm never going to tell people I need help. So check on your strong friends. If you haven't heard from them for a while, make sure you check on them. But what's your one piece of advice for business owners in this environment?
Create several viable plans. And what I mean by that is that could look like a plan for today, a plan for next week, a plan for a month from now. It also could look like a plan for during the crisis, a plan for after the crisis. But I think having several viable plans that are fluid is important, being flexible and adaptable, and definitely not having a wait and see attitude. I think that now is the time of action. I mean, we do not know how long this current environment will last. We know it will end at some point, and we have to have action plans for when that happens. So I think, sitting down and strategizing about what those viable plans look like. And then the second piece of advice is, do not go it alone. Now is the perfect time to hire anybody like you or me or anybody that is a specialist in the field that you're seeking. It's the best dollars I've ever spent when I needed something that was a specialty item, rather than trying to put that hat on and do it myself and figure it out. It was so well worth the time to just say, you're the specialist here, just go do it. Off my plate. I don't have to spend time and resources on it. And it's not the highest and best use of my time. So I think that's the other big takeaway.
Oh yeah. I think one of the things that most people can relate to, and I can relate horribly, but I did this business, and for about 6 months, I had no money coming in. And the reason wasn't that people weren't willing to pay. It's because I didn't have time to bill them. Mm-hmm. And that was ridiculous. And so I reached out to an accountant, and it was one of the best things I ever did, is to say, hey, I need you to do that because I can't, but there are so many other things that, whether it's branding, whether it's marketing. What I just said, I had to hire Pongos because I want to build a classroom for my business. I want to build a classroom so I can build a website. I don't have time to do that right now. She does. So I'm having her build my website.
I think when you're in business, things are some things are obvious. For example, if I need my car fixed, I am not going to put on my overalls and go out and try to fix my car. It's obvious. I'm going to go hire somebody. But for some reason, business owners think that when it comes to sales, when it comes to marketing, when it comes to accounting, they think that they need to put that hat on. And, that's where I just say, dumb it down. Like, seriously, look at your time and your resources and determine where the best use is.
Yeah. Well, and I want to say something about sales in particular. I think I heard you speak in, I guess it was October at the summit. Mm-hmm. And you said something about millennials. And I started thinking about it, and I thought, I have no idea how to help a millennial learn how to sell. Mm-hmm. The way I sell is so different than I think a lot of people. And I am all about relationships. It's been a natural thing for me. So if I had to sit down with somebody and say, this is how you do it, I couldn't. I'd say, you need to be born to do that, right? Yeah. Which isn't true, because you teach people how to do that all the time. Yep. So it's important for you to do that. And I think right now is a great time. You've got the resources where you can sit down and do this on Zoom. You can do it one-on-one. I think it's a great time for somebody to call and work with you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Now we've got more things coming through. Let's just, before we hang up, make sure we get them. About getting organized, what's the first way that comes to mind? If you're trying to get organized about your brand and your marketing, and what would be the first thing you'd tell people to do?
Stop trying to do it all on your own. That is a classic case where you're too far in the forest to see the trees. Just get outside help. I can sit down with folks usually in a 2-hour brainstorming session. And I just had a client last week, and she said, I have spent 3 years on this process, and I have not gotten anywhere near where we got in this 2 hours.
Yes. It's funny because we just did this last week with Cindy Maxted, and she said, I don't know what to do. I'm not in schools anymore. I guess it was 2 weeks ago. And schools are closed. I usually do my lessons in the schools. I don't know what to do. And I said, you know what? Let's do some live meditation. And we set it up. We started doing it. Talked to her yesterday. She's like, oh my gosh, I'm busier than ever. I'm getting people saw that I do it. And now they're having me do it with their teams online. I'm like, that's so great. But it was, she's been trying to do it for 2 years, and we literally sat down and got her set up so that she could do it immediately. And that was great. Yeah. So, let's see. I have a ton of outsourced teammates that will make it possible. So that's Jessica. Michael said, oh, she's got to go get to a meeting, but this was fantastic. Linda McCarthy tuned in. She says, great information, very uplifting. And look at that. Stephen Oliver's on here.
Hey, there he is.
I think that's the first one he's tuned into. You have to delegate if you're going to grow. And I agree. And I think also beware of somebody who tells you they can be your complete outsource, right? It's, you see the two of us, we have some areas that overlap, but we generally refer back and forth to each other because there are areas. And again, I mentioned Pongos. They do a whole other level of websites that I don't do, and so I can pass them on, or Michael and Kurt with their CRM. I'm not going to try to help you with that CRM. I can tell you need it. I'm not going to walk you through it. Is that something you will walk them through, or is it something?
Oh yeah, but that's like the adage I always use is jack of all trades, master of none. Right. And so right now, I say this all the time. I'm sure you see it constantly. Is anybody with a laptop can open up that laptop and say they're a marketer. Right. But marketing is such a broad, I think the last time that I saw some statistics, there was something like 500,000 different digital outlets that you could spend money on advertising digitally. Right. So, you have to, the riches are in the niches. And if you really want to do it right, you got to get somebody who's not the jack of all trades and master of none. You got to figure out who has specifically the services and the unique expertise that you need. Right.
I did it again. I can't find the banners. They're over there. So the way they get in touch with you, they go to ideas360llc.com. Yep. If you're a woman, you can join the Smart Women Professionals. And can you still take members in your Thrive group, or how does that work?
We do have members. Everything's industry exclusive there. So everybody serves as their industry expert for their specific category. But yeah, we have plenty of slots open.
Okay. Is there one in particular you're looking for right now you want to tell people about?
Oh boy, you caught me off guard there.
Sorry.
there's like 5 different industries that we're looking for right now. I know interior designer is one. Moving company is one. So
if you find a moving company, I need a mover. I have one quote, but I need another quote just in case,
Yeah.
So, okay, well, that's great. So we will keep you in mind for that, but we'll also keep you in mind for sales and marketing and all of the things that you do that help a company. We just said branding. Oh my gosh, we didn't even touch on branding here, but please, my number one pet peeve is people who pick a name and then can't get the domain. Yeah. Like, please don't pick the name if you don't know you can get that domain. It makes me a little bit crazy because you need that. So we've got another comment coming in. I want to make sure that we catch it in case it's more than a. So, all right. So that was Jessica thanking us again. Tomorrow, we're going to have Jeff and Lauren Gerlach on here from Challenger Auto. They're doing what you said. They're doing they'll come and pick up your car. They'll take it out. Jeff is one of my favorite clients because he completely took to live video. And when I told him he should do it, he didn't just do it. He did it. My favorite story about him is he came to pick my car up a few weeks ago at the office, and he was inside. He was meeting with me, and then he was going to take my car back to the shop, and Anastasia was going to follow him over. And so he went out to the car. I was on a call with somebody else. Anastasia gets a call from Jeff saying, come out here. I need help. Bring lotion. My car was making this funny sound. I know, it's so great. He's this big lotion, and he has reached into the underneath my tire to see what's happening, and he's gotten his hand stuck. So he needs lotion to get his hand out.
Oh no.
But what he says to her is, hand me the lotion and take my phone. You need to go live. And he went live with his hand stuck in my car, trying to figure out how to get it out. I thought,
Awesome.
I was like, that's so great, because it was so human. It was like, I do this for a living and I got my hand stuck. So,
Right.
so
Right. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
So, well, I'm so glad you came on. This is really fun.
Thanks for having
I
me.
could probably speak to you for
Hours,
for
right.
hours, but I'm glad you were on. If you guys have comments, I'm sure that Suzanne's going to be paying attention later and commenting back. So please, if you have comments, if you have things you want to say to her, you have questions, please leave the comment, but also feel free to reach out to her. She's on Facebook as Ideas 360. Women, smart women professionals, and as the Thrive Business Community.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. So you can find her in any of those places. I hope you guys are doing well. We have got so many more people coming up this week and next week. Suzanne will be back on next week on Wednesday. We're really going to talk about a lot of how our personal clients have adapted and how we've adapted to help as well. So I think that's going to be a good one. There's going to be 5, 6 of us on there. So that should be a really fun one.
Yeah.
So,
cool.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Suzanne. I'll talk to you later.
Thanks for having me.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.